welcome back to day 23, where we are opening another door in our Advent Calendar Christmas podcast. And today I want you to meet Jo Ferrone, the powerhouse behind How Does She Do It, a community where female entrepreneurs find support, inspiration and connection. And as a business mentor and host of the How Does She Do It podcast, Jo helps women overcome imposter syndrome, among many other subjects, and thrive in both business and life. And with a passion for authenticity, Jo encourages women to share their struggles and successes as they grow. She's already recently stepped out of her comfort zone, sharing her personal creativity and connecting deeply with others. And in today's conversation, we're going to be speaking about what it means to step out of your comfort zone. Welcome, Jo, to the Advent Calendar Christmas podcast.
Thank you for having me. How exciting is this? I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
I cannot wait. And obviously, we are so close to Christmas now, certainly really close to 2026. And today, we're obviously going to be exploring stepping out of your comfort zone. And what does that exactly mean?
Of course, I think stepping out of your comfort zone is going to mean different things to different people. But I believe that although it can present itself in a number of different ways, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally, or indeed a combination of all of those things, anyone that really wants to grow as a person or a business owner really would benefit from stepping out of their comfort zone. And, you know, we're obviously talking about moving forwards into the new year now. And so I really hope that there'll be people out there listening who will be thinking, yeah, I've been teetering on the edge of doing something, of braving something, or there might be that thing that they've just been avoiding because of fear. It can be really scary. And I really think it's important that we speak to that as well. It's not just, I'm just going to sit here and say, step out your comfort zone, your life's going to evolve, it's going to be amazing.
It's going to change magically.
Yeah, just like you flicked a switch. But you know, it is scary, and I don't want to sort of step away from that. And we worry, what if we fail? But I'm sure I don't need to tell you that, you know, failing at anything is an opportunity to learn. So it's not as finite as it sounds. I think that people can worry that they're going to be judged by other people. And
Absolutely.
actually, it's none of our business what anyone else thinks of us. As long as we believe in us and the direction we're going in, I think that we've got to use that to fuel us forwards. And so I believe that there are many ways that someone can step out their comfort zone. And if we're thinking in a business capacity, I certainly meet women who feel a little bit, they're absolute experts in what they do. You know, they know their stuff, they're brilliant, they serve their clients, they're amazing. But when it comes to speaking about themselves, it can feel a little bit icky, and they might avoid perhaps putting themselves out there and speaking on a podcast, for example, or going to a networking event. And although the build-up before something like one of those things that I've just mentioned can feel pretty tough, I never have thought that the actual doing the thing is as bad as that build-up. We perceive it's going to be harder than actually it is, or perhaps we underestimate how capable we are. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think we also, going back to a couple of points there of like building up an image or a situation in our head, I think sometimes we make a mountain out of a molehill, and women can feel really overwhelmed and anxious stepping out of their comfort zone, going to networking, new events, meeting new people, and they've got to really hype themselves up before they get into that space, because they are afraid of feeling judged, or fear of what if no one's going to talk to me there, or oh my god, what if people ask me questions about my business and I completely freeze, and what if I'm not the expert that I say I am. And I always myself say to women, and I'm sure you know you do the same with meeting hundreds of beautiful women every single year at all of your lovely events, but you know, you are your zone of genius, and you can talk so passionately and freely about what you do. And it's just about taking that deep breath and stepping into a space. And naturally, everyone most probably always feels the same. And just going up to someone and saying, "Hi, my name's such and such, and this is what I do. And, it's lovely to have you here today. What do you do?" And it's just about being real and authentic, isn't it?
It really is. And I think you could even take it a step back from that, because someone might feel even introducing themselves and saying what they do might feel a little bit tough. So, something I really recommend that people do is to ask a question of someone else, because actually that buys you a minute, or even if it's just seconds. It's just allowing you to gather yourself. And people do like to talk about themselves, and so if you're interested and you're willing to listen what someone else says, I think that can allow you as a person to maybe calm your heartbeat a little bit, which might be going a little bit fast, and stop concentrating on perhaps the fact that you're a bit sweaty and just feeling a little bit anxious, because you're putting that spotlight on someone else for a minute. And I think something that really, really stands out to me as well, because I know that people can get quite anxious about sharing in front of a room full of people what they do, worried what if they say something wrong. I'll always remind people that, if you're having a conversation with someone, at the school gates or in an office scenario, you're never going to be able to rewind and say it differently or better. You're just having a conversation. And I think that it's really valuable to just remember that we're all human beings at the end of the day. And actually, if someone sees that you're nervous and struggling, there's every chance that they're going to feel empathy and support you and quite literally feel you, because they've probably been there as well. Something that I really, really recommend is to work with affirmations. So you were talking about getting a bit hyped up before you go and do something that feels a bit brave and big. I think also some deep breaths and just some really simple phrases that you almost repeat over and over again. Perhaps you're driving to an event and you just have it on repeat in your mind, even something as simple as "I can do it," or "I believe in me." And it's amazing how our minds and our hearts can believe that and calm down a little bit. And that doesn't mean that it's going to feel easy or natural at all. It could still feel quite tough, but at least you're trying to build a little bit of a foundation to steady yourself.
Yeah, I love a good mantra or affirmation, and I think they can really, really help when you kind of also say them on repeat. So I always say to women, the first thing you do when you get up in the morning, if you can say those positive affirmations, and maybe you've got an event that day or you're going somewhere, and actually build them in from your morning routine. So by the time you get in the car and you're doing them as well, it's like, okay, this feels quite familiar. And like you say, it's never going to take away from how tough, but it might just help your subconscious part to say, this is safe and this is natural and this isn't actually scary. Like you say, stepping out of your comfort zone can be really difficult for women. But apart from the affirmations, what other toolkits would you say could support women stepping out of their comfort zone in 2026?
I think that to put yourself forward for something, or put your hand up even, if there's a Q&A, you're sat in an audience and it doesn't seem like a big thing maybe, but even just to try things like that and think, right, I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to let people hear my voice. That is exercising towards maybe bigger things. I am someone that has suffered all my life with anxiety and nerves, and so I know that fear and that panic very, very well, and I have worked with it. And I've got to say that if someone like myself, who couldn't even go into school for a time because of my anxiety and panic attacks, if someone like me can do it, then I really, really believe that anyone can. And I think that there are just little things you can do, even if it's as tiny as even if it's as tiny as giving someone a compliment. Now, I don't know if that sounds weird, Lisa, but that's something that I never used to have the confidence to do, because I was a bit worried. What if someone didn't accept that compliment? And then they kind of looked at me as if to say, how dare you put me in the spotlight here? So I even used to not give people compliments, but actually to brave just saying, I love your outfit. Or I'm sure we had a similar conversation when we met, because, you know, we met for the first time, and, you know, we were really gushing towards each other. And, you know, that probably wouldn't have felt that easy for me that day, because I was speaking at the event. But that was me pushing out of my comfort zone before I stood up in front of a room full of women. And it was just that little precursor. Little things, I think, can really add towards you being bold.
And I think that's so true. It's really stepping into an energy to give a compliment to another woman, or say, oh gosh, oh my God, I love that coat you're wearing, or that's such a beautiful outfit. 9 times out of 10, a woman is going to turn around and say, oh, thank you so much, I got it from such and such, what's your name? They're not going to turn around and say, oh, how dare you paid me a compliment. That's, you know, that's not allowed. You generally find that, you know, all women are in the same boat with when it comes to, you know, wanting to talk to other women and wanting to be together. And if we trail back round to the networking situation, in that part of the conversation, you'll find that other women are there on their own. And actually, when you ask that question to buy yourself time, or if you go one step further and introduce yourself and say who you're from, someone else is going to say, oh, this is my first time here too, or I'm here on my own. And you might then say, you know, have you grabbed a cup of tea yet? Do you want to go over and get a cup of tea? And then you'll settle into a space or a seat together, and you'll make a new connection, which I think is really lovely for women to try and do going into 2026.
I agree. I think connection absolutely comes from these things. And something I also encourage my clients to not be afraid of is to maybe share if they are feeling a little bit anxious. And it's certainly something that I will share, even sometimes when I'm hosting my events. My panic, my nerves will come back. And so I speak to it. And maybe not everyone would do that. Someone hearing this today might think, you know, that they might perceive that's a sign of weakness. And, you know, who would want to work with someone like me who still gets a bit overcome by nerves sometimes? But what I recognise is that when I share that maybe I'm having a bit of a wobble, it gives everyone else permission either to just go, oh, it's not just me, or, and I've witnessed this in my own events with people there for the first time, for them then to say, I'm really glad you spoke to that, Jo, because I'm feeling really nervous today. It's my first time, and this is such a step out of my comfort zone. And then going back to the connection piece, you can almost visibly witness the energy from the other women in the room, where everyone is just encouraging them silently to you know, go for it, do it, because, you know, we're all there to support one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, even I myself, I love teaching and coaching and mentoring on masterclasses, group mastermind sessions, one-to-ones. But if I have to stand up in front of an audience of women, whether it's, you know, 20, 50, 100, 200 women, I still get incredibly nervous standing up, certainly at least for the first 7 to 10 minutes until I can get into the swing of it. But it's that initial, oh my God, I've got to stand here.
Yeah.
I've got to talk. I have no notes. You know, I've got to present. How are the audience going to perceive me? What if I get no reaction from them? So, you know, even I, a veteran of 15 years in my industry, I still get up and get those nerves. And I think it is so natural. And that's what we want to get across today as well. Yes, we want to step out of our comfort zone, but it's also so natural to feel nervous going into these situations of talking and networking. But it's the toolkits that we use in our everyday to support us, to overcome those slightly and to know that it's okay.
Very much so. And I shared a poem that I'd written just today, actually, around perception, because we can be so quick to perceive that someone else, let's use you as an example. People could come and hear you speak, Lisa, and they're looking up to you, they're in admiration. In their heads, they're saying, well, it's all right for Lisa. She doesn't have nerves. Look at her. She's so professional. But what they're not seeing or hearing is that maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome in there. That questioning. Are they going to respond? Are they are they looking at me funny? Are they taking in what I'm saying? And so my message today with this poem was about, just be careful, because it is only perception. So we're very good at putting everyone else up there, and we bring ourselves, in comparison, down here, kind of thing. And it's often not a true representation. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. And also, I've got a poem right in front of me that I wrote about how it's not about waiting until you're completely ready and completely nerve-free, essentially. It's about the wobble, and it's about carrying on regardless. And I honestly believe, and I'd love your thoughts as well, Lisa, that if someone is being brave enough to put themselves in a position where it is a step out of their comfort zone, it's not their norm, but it's what they want to become their norm, we're just going to admire that, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like 100%. And I'd love to hear this beautiful poem.
Am I allowed to read it? Oh, I will if you want.
Yes, I would love for you to share with all of our followers and women. I would love for you to share it with us.
Thank you. So the poem is called She Waited. She waited for the perfect time, the one when she'd be ready. That moment didn't come round, so she braced herself unsteady. She went for it. She tumbled a few times along the way, but she made so much more progress than the times when she'd delayed.
Oh, Jo, I love that. And do you know what? I think this is going to resonate with so many women and men listening, because a lot of the women in my industry, in the interior design and the property industry, they wait till they've got the perfect website, the perfect portfolio, the perfect services, everything. Oh, I've got to learn everything perfectly before I can launch. And actually, it's not about getting it perfect, it's going for it. And I think so many women are going to love that and love those words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, if it encourages one person just to maybe make the move, I don't know, a month before they felt ready, or maybe 6 months before they felt ready, then I know, and perhaps we'll just speak about some of the icing on the cake now, I know that they will feel this jubilation. They'll be so proud of themselves. And, if it doesn't go perfectly, they'll learn from it, and they'll still be standing. The world will not stop turning, will it?
Absolutely.
So shall I just share a few things I feel that we might feel if we do step out of our comfort zone?
I would love that.
Got a few words. It can feel exciting. It can feel amazing. It's incredible how accomplished we as human beings can feel when we've done something that perhaps we weren't quite ready for, or we doubted ourselves with. We feel brave and a real sense of pride as well. And most importantly, I believe that if we have gone into something feeling we're really stretching ourselves, we have then proved to ourselves that anything is possible, because we've got to the other side of it and we will have grown. And just to kind of speak about the icing on the cake, as I call it, you get to do the thing, brilliant, tick, well done, and it must be celebrated, because women don't necessarily celebrate themselves.
They don't.
As much as I believe they should, and I speak for myself as well. Yeah. But your confidence will increase. you're going to gain new skills, because if it felt a step out the comfort zone, you've obviously learnt something along the way to get there. I believe you uncover talents that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
And you meet new people and you'll open new doors, because one step is going to lead to another step and another. And you really, really do believe that anything is possible.
I love that. And I think all of those words are so true and will resonate with so many women, because when you do the 1% stretch, as I call it. So each week I ask a woman, what's the 1% stretch you're going to do this week? Is it that email you're going to send? Is it that phone call you're going to make? Is it that networking event you're going to book? Is that event you want to go to on your own? Is it maybe releasing a new service or something? What is that 1% stretch? And after they do it, they say, oh my gosh, it didn't feel so bad. Why was I holding it off? And I feel so accomplished, I've done it, and it's out there now, and I feel like I could do anything, or I'm going to go and do this. And it is that then ripple effect that comes off the back of those small 1% stretches.
Yes.
Every single week or every single month that you do, that your confidence grows, and then you get yourself to the end of the year. And obviously, we're coming so close to the end of the year now, being on the 23rd of December. And I think you would say the same. We invite women to actually look at where they were in January 2025 to where they are now. Where have they stretched out of their comfort zone? What they've accomplished, and what would they like to step into in 2026, and what is going to be their 1% stretch?
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant goal for people to have, because you can do it incrementally. You can build up, and that compound effect is not to be underestimated. It
Absolutely.
really isn't. I've got the tingles where you've just said that, because I'm just thinking about how people are going to be feeling as they've just heard you say that.
Yeah.
They're going to have the bit between their teeth. They're going to see how far they've come this year, and they can go even further next year.
And I think a really lovely exercise that I love women to do when they're stepping out of their comfort zone. So as we're coming towards the end of the year, and I certainly know obviously with the event that we're doing in January to Dream Big, I get women to write a legacy letter. So anyone listening, write a legacy letter of maybe you in December 2026, a year on from now, of all the things that you've achieved and accomplished that might feel a little bit scary, or a little bit that would cause anxiety, or to sweat, or to feel nervous, but you've done them and you've accomplished them, and write them from a place of celebration. And let that out to the universe as your sign to say, I'm doing that next year. That is my 1% stretch. And take that letter out in December 2026 and read it again.
Yeah.
And I love it when women do this exercise, because they come back and they're like, oh my God, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. And I'm like, could you imagine you were there 12 months ago and now you've done all of this? How do you feel?
Yeah.
And they've gone through all of those beautiful words that you've said. I feel excited. I feel elated.
Yeah.
I feel this. I feel that. And it's just beautiful, isn't it? When we see women do these things.
It really is. And I'm a firm believer that if we allow ourselves to stop being in the office, planning, getting everything just so, we're building that momentum. And I don't doubt that people will open that legacy letter and not only have done everything in it, they'll have done more, because they have exercised that muscle. And so, I'm excited already.
I know. And do you know what I think the big thing is for a lot of women is stepping outside of their comfort zone on social media, on Instagram, and talking. And this can be a huge one for a lot of women that I coach and mentor, is visibility and showing up, because they don't want to get judged. They're afraid they're going to get it wrong and they're going to stumble their words. And what words of wisdom would you have for a woman stepping out of her comfort zone, maybe becoming more visible in 2026?
Great question, and it's something I certainly work with my clients on as well. I would just urge people not to think too much about it. A bit like I said, if we had a conversation with someone one-to-one offline, if we feel we've stumbled over our words, there's no going back. It's out there.
It's done.
And no one has sort of stood there and judged you. And so I believe need to just dismantle that judgment that we're essentially putting on ourselves and put it out there.
I love that. Thank you so much. And obviously, we will have you back on in our Q1 podcast to talk more about stepping out of the comfort zone and sharing those experiences. So you will definitely be seeing a lot more of Jo in 2026. Jo, thank you so much for coming on today. And I will be back again tomorrow for another podcast sharing more tips and value and insights. Take care. Thank you.